open my microphone, open Lane's microphone, and open Mr. More for Your Money's microphone. And it is time for another edition of the Analyst Desk. Dan and Lane were here in the morning. Well, afternoon. For Dan, it was morning because we all know more.
Oh, it was morning for me too, to be honest.
Oh, it is Lane dashing dash go.
It was 12:30 in the morning.
But we there talked about a huge story in the sports world about the betting scandal in the NBA. And I gave my thoughts in the comment section, but I'm going to quickly give my thoughts on this before we get into the Toronto Argos season recap, which, by the way, this episode will be uploaded to our Spotify and iHeartRadio as well. I want to say this about the betting scandal. Anyone who is surprised, I don't think you've been watching sports. It has been so obvious that these teams and leagues have been fixing games for so many years. I don't know why Dan finds this so funny, but it's the god.
I just hearted emoji like crazy.
But you have to look at this realistically, and we've seen calls that make absolutely no sense. We see players who come off when they don't look injured. And we weren't seeing these things as much when sports betting wasn't a thing. I hate to say it, but I think the officiating in the Canadian Football League has gotten worse since they've allowed single game sports betting in Canada. And I'm not saying anyone's doing anything. I don't have any proof besides of Sean Lemon, who bet on himself and got him suspended for almost 2 seasons. But look, at the end of the day, I don't think this is the last we're going to hear about this. I think we're going to see more players, more teams, and I'm calling it more leagues getting in trouble. I don't think the FBI is done because this is absolutely huge. I don't think it's done. And I find it fascinating that the sports networks have kind of buried the story versus people like us at the Analyst Desk. And I'm not saying ESPN, the way they had it on our ticker, I went back and looked. That was a pre-recorded show. There's nothing they could do about that besides do a ticker. But I'm talking even on social media, it's buried. They're posting like mad crazy right now on everything else. So that's my 2 cents on it. I'm not
like us.
I'm not surprised. I don't think we're done. No. I think we are going to see another major American league be the next domino. I'm not going to say which league, but because I don't have any proof. But I think we're going to see another American league be the next domino, and it's going to be one of the big 3.
Oh, for sure. I 100% you agree. Like, there's just so many. It's just, it's unfortunate, right? Like, I think at the end of the day, it's fun to do some betting, but at the same time, there's definitely times where you're watching it and it's hard to believe it's not rigged. You watch a game and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. And
well, Jacob, here's $1 million question for you, as we were asking our listeners earlier today. Is it better to have the sports gambling apps around and have the chance of something like this happen? Or is it better to go back before sports gambling was legal and have people with bookies doing it in the back of the restaurant, and people lose?
I'm telling you this, we will never get rid of sports betting. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
So which one's better?
Will change. I don't think sports betting is going to. I'm very curious to see how much it's shoved in your face over the next, even the rest of the seasons. I'm very curious to see, do we see scale back at advertising? I saw this hilarious short where it was like one of the basketball players purposely punting the ball out of the arena. And then they said this play was brought to you by DraftKings. Like, away from that. That's the million. And that's not a shot to DraftKings. Look, I don't know enough about the betting world, but I do think that this is where we're going to see the betting ads really, really scale back.
Even in the intermissions, right? Like, when you watch hockey, it's like, oh, first period bets, second period intermission. Who's the favorite? Who's the money line? Like,
I do think that's what's going to drastically change. But what has drastically changed this year is the Toronto Argonauts. And I want to get into that because that's what we're here for. We planned on doing this show.
Argos.
Oh, I'm so excited.
But, obviously this big announcement was here and we really had to break it down. But look, the Toronto Argos season, I think it's very fair to say was disappointing, right?
No, disappointing is not the right word. What the right word is? Epic fail.
I'm calling it a disappointment. I think it's more like when your parents say, I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. That's how I feel about this season.
No, this is like the epic fail where that kid's living living in the basement. Like, that's an epic fail.
Ooh, look what I got, everybody.
Whoa.
I'm ready for the hot takes. You know, when people always get popcorn when I get hot and spicy on here, and it's time for me to get a little bit of revenge. Ooh,
Well, you know what?
every
I'm
piece
going
of
to have.
popcorn tastes like it's 19. This tastes like it's 1999.
Well, the
I'm
good
gonna
thing
have
is if
some-
you get
I'm going to have some
popcorn.
Coca-Cola from 2002 to cool
This
down.
one tastes
We're
like it's from
not-
1999.
No, I gotta say
like
though, when
Coca-Cola,
you
but
get
we could-
popcorn at the Ticats Stadium, it does actually taste like it was made in 1999. So, I'm sorry, but it was the burger I had there. The last game was great, but
it was doable.
The
Whips were good. I thought it was pretty cool having whips at a football game.
But before we get into the entire
Oh.
show, as this is it's going to be a hot topic, obviously, let's keep the comment section clean and a safe space for everyone. We welcome all opinions, debates, and fan takes, but please be respectful to one another. No hate speech, no personal attacks, no negativity towards players, fans, or guests. We're all here because we love the game. Let's make this a space where everyone feels welcome to talk sports. Hashtag the Analyst Desk, where every day feels like game day.
That's right.
You know, I want to remind that because I know we got a little spicy comments in our last live from earlier today, which fair enough. It was a very, heated subject. But my number one question for you guys, and I want to give my opinion on this first. No, I won't give my opinion first, actually.
I want to go first.
I'm actually gonna let Lane go first because I think he won't have Argo blinders on.
Oh, yay.
We know the season wasn't great, correct? They had the same. They may end up having the same tied for the worst record in the CFL, tied of Ottawa, depending how all things go on this weekend on Friday. So, Lane, do you think the Argos are in full blown rebuild, blow up the team, or do you think this is a bit of a retool? You maybe tweak a couple pieces, and the team could be a contender next year again.
All right, so here I'm going to give you my 20 cents, and here you go. I'm going to give you here's my quarter, my Canadian quarter. Here's my 25 cents for my opinion. As many of you might not know, I am not the biggest Argo fan. I'm actually a Hamilton Tiger Cats fan, so I have no reason to say anything nice about the Toronto Argos. And if I do usually say, I usually get thrown in the Hamilton jail for about a week. But here's what I will say. When it started out, I was mad about your coach. The first few weeks you guys were losing like crazy. And, I didn't really understand the situation, but, as the season when I started to, but, I didn't like how Ryan did when he called this team out constantly and kind of put them down in the media. I didn't like that. And I didn't like how the way you guys were handling things. But then, there was a change, right? Like it took a few weeks, but ultimately I think what really happened, and I said this 100 times, I'm going to say it again. I really think this Argos team definitely could have made the playoffs. I don't think it's as bad as Dan and Jacob are going to say. And I know that's hard because coming from me, I'm always the negative one. And when it's my team, I go unhinged and lose my mind. But coming from an outsider's perspective, I actually don't think your season was that bad. I think it was just there were little things that went wrong, right? You guys prepared for Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly never came. You guys continued to roll with this Chad Kelly negative narrative that he's going to come in. We're going to run this team the way Chad Kelly would run it instead of focusing on Nick Arbuckle. I think that was where you shot yourself in the foot, right? You shot yourself in the foot and you never recovered from it, because I honestly think if you guys had just kind of just said Nick Arbuckle's going to run this team, we're going to run this team with a Nick Arbuckle style offense with the way he plays, I think you make the playoffs. But I think because you spent so much time and so much energy focusing on Chad Kelly, focusing on when he's coming back. The fans were focused on it. The media was focused on it. The coaches were focused on it. Everyone was focused on the guy who was sitting on the sidelines with a broken foot or whatever it was. They weren't focused on what was actually going on with the guys on the field. And I really think that's what broke down, because, again, you guys were in a really bad spot. You guys were kind of almost, the race had started in the 300 meters and you guys are still at the starting blocks. And then by the time you tried to catch up, it was a little bit too late because, injuries. And then you had Nick Arbuckle, who felt like, he was winning games, but he had to play perfect, because if he didn't play absolutely perfect, you lose one game, you were in trouble. So it got to a point where even when you got things figured out, when you got, Coxie, and you got the defense and you got the offense, and everything started rolling. Again, you guys were just kind of so far behind the ball. The ball was, 3/4 down the field past your end zone here. So again, it's tough to say, right? Because I think like at the end of the day, I really feel for you guys as an Argos fans, because I feel there was something there. I think if they make the playoffs with a healthy Nick Arbuckle and a healthy wide receiving and a healthy defense, I think this team could have done something. I think that, how Dan talked about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, but how you never know, they just got to get there. And that team was starting to get there. They were starting to put together games where they looked impressive. They won against Hamilton in 3 seconds on Labor Day. These guys put together, they crapped on BC at the exhibition, at the X game. This team looked like it was starting to put it together, and it just needed 3 more wins to make the playoffs. But again, you guys shot yourself in the foot in the first 7 games. At those 3 games, you couldn't make it up. So I really feel for you guys. I don't know how you're feeling, as if it's frustration, if it's anger, if it's sadness. It's a little bit of everything. But I totally get where you guys are coming from. Like, I know I'm not an Argo fan, but I do feel for the Argo fan, because I get it. I understand the frustration. I understand everything. I just wish that, maybe if you don't like 2 little things different, we could be sitting in a different spot right now.
For sure.
Yeah, I honestly feel that when I look at this Argo team, it's really hard to evaluate it as a whole group. I kind of have to break it down into your 3 phases: your offense, your defense, and your special teams. And I felt the special teams and the defense took too long to get going, right? Like, you really wonder if you had a healthy Winton McManus from week 1. You had a healthy either Chad Kelly or gave up on Chad Kelly by week 1. If Coxie doesn't get injured down that final stretch, if Daniels doesn't get injured down that final stretch, if Arbuckle doesn't get injured down that final stretch.
But that's why
we might be talking about this team either making the playoffs or like Edmonton, where they pushed it to pretty much the end. I look at this Toronto Argonauts team, and I think they are better than their record. And I'm not just saying it because I'm a fan, because I would like to state this. My second team in the CFL has been the Ottawa Red Blacks for a long time. I'm actually really like the Ottawa Red Blacks. Dustin Crum's one of my favorite players in the league. And I think that Ottawa team is we'll get into it in another episode, but that Ottawa team is in desperation mode. I don't think the Argos are in desperation mode. No. That's kind of my 2 cents on it. And Dan Gray, yeah, awesome. I read the comments. Oski Wawa, Holy Machina, Tigers, eat 'em raw.
Yeah,
Station Sushi Bar.
Woo, popcorn, let's go. By the way, Dan, nice new photo. I love it.
Oh man, he's a phenomenal photographer, and I can't wait for his announcement in November. But
yeah, exciting news. I
feel like this Argo team, if they started off even, I think, what did they start, like 2-7?
That's where you guys.
If they could have started even 4 and 5. I think they could have made the playoffs. There was 100%. Too many games, and I thought Ryan Dinwiddie's post conversation was it put the nail on the head. He's like, we lost too many winnable games, and that's what it came down to. But Dan, what are your thoughts? Lane and I are kind of pulling a John Schneider and say the sky's not bleeping falling. Do you feel the sky's falling in Toronto?
Well, the sky's already hit the ground, bud. Like, it's done. Like,
come on.
I'm not upset. I'm not upset at this team.
I don't even like this team.
I love my Argos. I'll be an Argo fan if I went 0-18. I don't care. I'll still be an Argo fan. I'll still be a season ticket holder. I love my boys. I'm not upset with them because they've won 2 Grey Cups in 3 years, and they had a 16-2 record in the middle of it. However, you gotta make Sarah's 1 year was just a blooper, because if they come out this cold again next year, then people are getting fired left, right, and center. This is extremely bad. To go from a Grey Cup winning team, to go from a 16-2 year before that, to go a Grey Cup winning again before that, go Eastern Conference Finals before that. So you have 4 tremendous years to go from a 5 and 5-12 record. Okay, I get it. If they were, I would have been even a little less upset if, let's say, we're in a situation of Edmonton and we just missed it by 1 or 2 games. Blow, you're 5-7. You didn't even win the half of the year. I didn't even go 500. You're not even close to 500. And yeah, we can sit there and point figures.
Looks like Dan Gray agrees with you, Mr. Moore. If a photo of it is 150 feet high, holy moly.
Crazy.
That's higher than Snoop Dogg. The Argos guy hasn't fallen. They'd be like the Titanic. But Dan, here's where you're going to disagree with Dan. The Dan fight's going to start. They hit the Kelly iceberg and didn't realize how fast they were sinking. Now they're sunk, and they're trying to figure out how to get back to shore. And
I love Chad Kelly. He's my boy. But I gotta say, Mr. Gray, I do agree with you. I mean,
it's tough.
Nick Arbuckle won you the Grey Cup. Nick Arbuckle's a winning quarterback. If they just started going into the year saying, hey, Chad's going to be out for the year, or Chad's going to be out for the first half. This is now Nick's team. We're running offense according to Nick. We're getting a running back that works with Nick. I think this year could have been a totally different year because I got full confidence in Nick Arbuckle getting me to a playoff spot and to a Grey Cup. I'm the uncommon opinion in the room back in that 2021 year where they had originally had Arbuckle as a backup and they traded him. They had Arbuckle and Bethel Thompson. And everyone's like, oh, Bethel Thompson's heavy favor. I'm like, no, I think this Arbuckle get better. And I like his attitude. I like his leadership. I like his style on the field. But, like, to be a quarterback, a dominant quarterback, you need to be the leader. And, yeah, cut Chad. Like, I love Chad Kelly. I really do. I have a Chad Kelly jersey. I love him. I always will love him. But you can't deny that this is Arbuckle's team at this point. And if you do let Arbuckle walk and Kelly fit the room, I'll call it. I think we'll have the same problem as BC had with Nathan York and Verder Adams Jr. And look what a disaster that came to be. Now, okay, maybe it's filming up a little bit better right now for BC. I was going to say, but last year, it was a disaster.
And no offense, I'm going to say this too. We don't know if it's working out for BC or not yet. Depends what they do in a couple weeks.
Well, they probably maybe going to do much. I really don't.
But I do want to say we have to remember, and Mr. Gray says Arbuckle walks. Both Chad Kelly and Nick Arbuckle are under contract next year.
Right.
So you can keep them both if you really want to. My opinion on the matter is, and this is where I think things are going to get very interesting. I think for the very first time in a while, Pinball and Dimwitty might not be on the same page because Dimwitty really talked about having 2 really strong quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Pinball in his presser did say that about 2 strong quarterbacks and they're going to do what to help Chad. But he also said, let's remember this season has nothing to do with Nick Arbuckle having a poor season, that Nick Arbuckle played very well. And I'm going to say it, if he stayed healthy and this team had a better record, we might be talking Nick Arbuckle for MOP this year.
100%.
Right? And he is the Argos nominee for MOP because he definitely was their best player. But at the end of the day, I'm just... It's a really tough decision. I think you're going to have to take one of these quarterbacks and you're going to have to really decide who's the starter.
And let's be honest.
Either that or maybe you say to Chad, like, look, if you want to come back to Toronto, you need to be willing to renegotiate your contract to take a massive pay cut and be ready to back up Nick Arbuckle to start the season.
And let's be honest here.
But I don't think Chad Kelly will be willing to do that, in my personal opinion. I don't see Kelly being willing to be a backup quarterback. I don't think he's willing. I think they're going to have to pick one. And if it was me, I would be
101.
going with Nick Arbuckle because you're
100%.
getting away from the drama straight up. Whether you like Kelly or hate him, there has been a lot of off-field distractions with him at quarterback. I thought the receivers all respectively had very good seasons, right? Like, I mean, Mattel over 100 receptions, Brissett career high numbers, Herslow turning out to be a real end zone threat, and an offense that couldn't run to save their life. I thought Nick Arbuckle handled the situation very well. And I think if you're going to stick with Chad, then trade Nick Arbuckle. Get some assets for him. Maybe trade him for a really good offensive lineman in all seriousness.
Yeah.
And I think it's just, you have to decide, is Chad Kelly going to be 100%? And can he do what he's done in years past? Because I didn't mean to make this a whole Chad Kelly hour, but so far we are. It's just, I look at Kelly, and
the biggest issue.
And it's the big problem with him too is, and Dan is not going to like this comment from me, Mr. Moore, but I feel Chad Kelly's tenure in Toronto has been very, very inconsistent. He's had some great games. He had the 16-2 season, I think perfectly sums up Chad Kelly. He is either dominant or he's terrible. We've seen of Nick Arbuckle, even when he is struggling, he has found a way to make the one big play. Where I found with Chad, if he's off, you almost got to pull him as soon as he throws a bad interception. Be like, okay, you're done. That's my 2 cents on it. But to the comments we go again from our favorite photographer. Okay, so trade Kelly to Edmonton.
Whoa.
You sent him, becomes the backup there. You sent, does CFL, the CFL does have buyout rules. Yes, you also could just cut Chad. That's what they did with like Kadeem Carey, for example. They could just cut ties with him.
I still think that was a mistake.
Coming in, the running game was bad, but I don't know if Kadeem Carey would have made it any better. But
he's a great Cup champion. Of course, he's going to make it better.
That O-line was more the problem. So trade Carey because the CFL, it does. You can just cut players, and there's no guaranteed necessarily contracts in the Canadian Football League. But I think if you're going to see it cut, I think you're going to see him cut before bonuses are paid, just straight up.
What bonuses? He didn't do anything.
Well, yeah, Kelly won't get any bonuses, but if they're going to move on from Arbuckle, he's going to hit every bonus.
Very well.
The thing that scares me the most for you guys is there's 2 teams I'm looking at. I mean, anything can happen, but there's two teams
he goes to school
specifically. There's 2 teams specifically that I'm circling on my little board here. Well, maybe 3. There's 3 teams that I'm circling that are potentially looking for a starting quarterback next year, and those 3 teams are Saskatchewan Roughriders, because Trevor Harris could very well retire. The Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because of Zach Collaros and his inconsistencies. And I hate to say it, but I think there's another team that you don't want to lose them to. The Hamilton Tiger Cats. Again, Bo Levi Mitchell's getting up in age. You don't know what you're going to get from him. He's getting older and older. There's the 3 teams that I'm thinking are looking for a starting quarterback. You don't want to lose Nick Arbuckle or Chad Kelly to either, at least maybe definitely not the Hamilton. Because, if that Hamilton with Kenny Lawler and maybe like a Nick Arbuckle, the net damage they could do together. Someone who would coax you. Imagine
that
Kenny Lawler.
You know the damage that Coxie and Arbuckle did together. Like
that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Imagine if Hamilton doesn't need Hamilton. Bo Levi Mitchell retires this year. All of a sudden they bring in a Nick Arbuckle to be with Kenny Lawler. Like, oh my.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Who had on their bingo card this year? But Nick Arbuckle was going to be the Argos candidate for MOP when you have guys like Coatsy, Grant, and
I guess Ottawa needs a quarterback.
Winston McManus and Cameron Judge. Like you look at the kicker, Hau'olahu, the best kicker. You look at Henderson, who's the punter. He's really good too. Like, you have Henderson's not his name. I'm very sorry. Haggerty. Thank you. I knew it started with H. Very sorry, buddy. You have a very good, even without a quarterback, you have a phenomenal, great team that all these guys, Cameron Judge, could have been MOPs over his team. No one on their bingo card had Nick Arbuckle, will be superstars to be MOP of his team, right? Let's just be
Honestly,
honest.
I'm actually not surprised about Nick Arbuckle's season personally. I've been an Arbuckle fan, and even when the fan base was kind of turning on him to start the year, I was kind of like, guys, just give him some time. And I thought he played very, very well. I also thought the wide receiver played very well with him.
They did.
But okay, I mean, the Argonauts have a good problem to have, right? You have two quarterbacks that you feel you can win with.
But you got to pick one.
But I think you got to pick one. I don't think you want, because I don't know if Nick Arbuckle is going to be satisfied with being a backup QB anymore.
Not now. He won't be.
Yeah, why would he?
I think Trevor Harris might retire. I think Zach Collaros might retire. And I think Ottawa might move on from Drew Brown. So you potentially have, and Bo Levi Mitchell, if Hamilton wins a Grey Cup this year, I think he'll retire. So you have four potential quarterbacks. Now, I don't see Toronto trading Arbuckle to anyone in the East.
No.
So I think he'd be going to either Winnipeg or Saskatchewan. I'll tell you one thing. Nick Arbuckle on a Saskatchewan offense where every receiver eats would be dominant. I really do. Same with Chad Kelly, though. Imagine putting Chad Kelly with Ontario Wilson.
I think you guys are jumping the gun, though.
It's like all game.
You can't have two quarterbacks.
I really don't see Trevor Harris and Bo Levi Mitchell retiring unless they have horrible playoffs.
Dan, they're both getting up there. Eventually, you just don't want to take hits anymore. Like, you look, Milt Stegall, for example, is still in game shape today. We saw it when he went to a Winnipeg Blue Bomber training camp last year.
Right.
But he said that it gets to a point you just don't want to take hits anymore. And I think that's what will happen to guys like Trevor Harris and guys like Bo Levi Mitchell.
Especially if you win a Grey Cup.
I think Zach Collaros is going to be happy with being a mediocre quarterback. Like, I think Zach Collaros will retire before he's god-awful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's what a lot of players do. Well, you look at Marc-Andre Fleury in NHL, he could have easily played another year, right? You know, a lot of players
like as dumb as it sounds, you can't necessarily beat Father Time.
However, I just think you guys are jumping the gun a little bit.
Unless you're Jaromir Jagr.
Yeah, that too.
The Argos, you got to remember, though, under contract for quarterback, you have Chad Kelly, Nick Arbuckle, Jared Dagey, which I know, Dan, you don't
doesn't count.
Hold on. I thought he had some flashes. I thought he had some moments. That game against Saskatchewan, he looked great. You have Tucker Horn, who, truthfully, I was disappointed in his game in Calgary, but that was
he's got to go.
And then you have Matt Dungan, who almost won the Heisman. That's the guy I like. All those other ones, you got to make sure he stays in your room.
I think he's the backup for next year.
The ceiling on this kid, I think, is sky high. And Ryan Dinwiddie is a quarterback guru.
Yeah.
So I look at Ryan Dinwiddie, and I think he
was the quarterback.
I know he was. But, I mean, just as a coach, he's a quarterback guru. Nick Arbuckle, everywhere else, was mediocre. In Toronto, he became an MOP candidate. Like, that's what you have to remember.
Yeah.
Right? So I really feel if you're looking at the Toronto Argonauts, you're really feeling like they got to have a tough decision at quarterback. But you also have some tough decisions in other positions. So what we're going to do is I want to start going through some of the players that don't have contracts right now.
Yeah.
And we're going to see what happens to them. So I'm going to do a little bit of ho-ho and a little bit of ha-ha. So right now, you have Dejan Brissett, David Unger III, and Davaris Daniels, who are not under contract for the wide receivers.
You got to bring them back, no?
I don't think Daniels comes back.
I
thought Daniels had a slow burner of a season, and I could see Davaris Daniels not being a part of this team moving forward. I love Davaris Daniels. He is a Canadian football legend. He has had some incredible seasons. But I'm looking at a guy named Jake Hirschlow, who you do have under contract next year. And I do not see him riding the bench another season. I think he absolutely has to make your starting lineup.
Oh, I agree with you.
And I think the only way he makes the starting lineup is if you move on from I think Dejan Brissett you have to keep. He's a really strong Canadian receiver, really helped your ratio, had some really big moments this year.
And he's very big in community too. Right? He's a good
I'm either
leader.
moving on from Unger or Daniels, and I'm probably keeping Unger over Daniels just because he's a bit younger.
See,
But
I'm
maybe
the
moving on
opposite.
from both of them, because you got to remember, you also didn't have Coxie in the lineup at the end. You want Coxie back.
Yeah, 100%.
And I'm sure there's some guys on the practice roster that you really want to give a look.
True.
Just if you're wondering why we didn't start with the running back situation, all running backs are under contract going into next season. So Spencer Brown and Mac Mahon are both under contract. I think Mac Mahon might be getting cut unless you decide to move him to another area that we'll talk about later.
What about Williams?
He's also under contract.
Because I liked him. I felt bad. I felt like if he didn't injure his eye in Ottawa at the game we were at, I think he would have done better this year.
By the way, all these players of who are under contract and who aren't is from Third Down Nation. Great Canadian football website for if anyone's looking to, look a little bit more if you're wondering where we get these stats from. But Lane, I'm curious, out of these three, are you bringing all these guys back?
No, I'm not bringing them all back. I'm focusing on other areas. I would actually try to lock down like a top running back for you guys. Someone that you can actually get. Like, I mean, you guys have a good running back, but you need someone guaranteed.
So maybe like I think William Stanback only signed a 1-year deal in Ottawa. Didn't have a great year in Ottawa.
Or Adam Aboye, bring him back.
Or Adam Aboye, I believe, signed a 2-year deal.
Oh,
but
still sign back. Maybe you can get. Maybe Greg Bell wants to leave. I don't know. Never
but
know.
out of those guys, though, Lane, so you're saying you move one of these guys to make room for running backs. So who would you move on from?
Well, I don't know as much about these guys. I think Brissett. I know Brissett's the one that made that crazy catch. So
and he's Canadian.
I don't want to get rid of him so he doesn't burn me again. But no, I don't know which. Like, I don't know these guys as well as you do, Mr. Jake. I remember just saying.
David, thank you very much for the like. Really appreciate it as always. Very loyal viewer of the program. Like I said, for me, I think especially DeVaris Daniels coming through as an American and not a national player, which it really affects your ratio. I think Daniels may be the odd man out going into next season just because you got to make room for Hirschlow.
Yeah, you got to make room for Hirschlow. You got to make room for Coatsy.
Yeah,
and Mattel had a good year too.
Well, Kevin Mattel's still under contract and he's Canadian. Like he's not going anywhere.
No.
Kevin Mattel, I think you're just scratching the surface with how good he is.
So let's do the math here. How many wide receivers do you have? 5?
On the field, yeah, but you need extras.
Okay, so on the field, so you have Coatsy, Hirschlow, and Mattel. So there's 3. And then out of these 3, you gotta get 2 basically.
So I think if it's me, I'm probably going with Unger and Brissett because they're both They both come in as Canadians, and they're younger.
Yeah, I can see
they're younger. I think.
At first I said to keep Daniels, but after hearing that, I see your point.
The only way I'm thinking maybe DeVaris Daniels is if he's willing to sign at a very, very hometown discount guy, and he knows he may be coming on and off the bench.
He's not from Toronto, is he?
No, but he loves it in Toronto, and he's been very open about that. He's played under Ryan Dinwiddie now between Calgary and Toronto, I think, for the last 8 seasons.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
There are a lot of players who will stay just because of Ryan Dinwiddie, right?
He was a tank in Calgary, too.
But the wide receiver room, I don't think you see a lot of changes. You maybe see one guy go to make room.
Yeah.
The Argos D-line is where you got a bit of a different story. So Brian Cox Jr. unfortunately injured himself in training camp and never played. Same with DeMarcus Christmas. This may have been a very different D-line.
No, Christmas did play. I would keep Christmas.
Played like 2 games.
I would keep him. And I would actually keep Lenier.
Lanier? Yeah, I would definitely keep Lanier.
He got injured too. So I would keep those 2. The other 3, they have a go.
I think it really depends on. I don't know what kind of contracts these guys would be getting, but I could see Pelly staying. I thought he played well in limited reps. Hansen didn't really get a whole lot of field time, so it's really hard to say. But personally, I thought the Argos D-line, considering it was completely decimated, I actually thought it looked decent this year. Because you still have Casey under contract, you still have Chatfield under contract, you still have Parrish under contract. You have a lot of really good defensive linemen under contract.
Yeah,
Lanier is the one guy on this list, though. I think as long as he's good to go next year, I think you absolutely have to bring back Anthony Lanier. I thought he was a big part of the leadership group.
he was.
Really good player, has had a lot of success, a CFL veteran. He's a guy I'm bringing back.
I really liked him as Argo, and I would bring back Christmas. I liked Christmas back in Edmonton. I really liked him as an Argo. I know he got injured, but I think if he stayed healthy, that could have been a difference maker for Toronto this year.
What do you think about the Argos D-line, Lane? I know you don't know as many of the players, but you did watch quite a few Argo games this year. Did you find this D-line, considering they lost everyone? So just to put in perspective, everyone they had besides of Derek Parrish, gone. How would have you assessed the D-line this season?
I thought it was pretty good, to be quite honest.
I personally agree with you. I thought especially Chatfield, his first year as like a full-time defensive lineman, I thought looked phenomenal.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty decent.
I agree with that. Chatfield played great. Paris, I really like. He's been Argo a couple years. I've always liked him.
Yeah, like I mean, like you put in perspective, Chatfield was tied for 6th and also in the CFL for sacks with 7. Matthew Betts has taken a lead so far, 14 sacks. He's been on an absolute tear. But Aaron Casey, another guy for Toronto who no one really expected, did have 6 sacks this season, right?
He played well too.
So I'm of the opinion where I actually think Toronto's, I think the defensive line itself actually isn't terrible. I know that, we'll get more into the rest of the defense later, but I do think if you guys, in my personal opinion, I thought the Toronto Argonauts defensive line, I'm just pulling up defensive line stats for the Argos. Sorry, this might take me a second to pull these up.
Okay.
But I actually thought the Argos defensive line, I thought all things considered, it did take them a couple of weeks. They really struggled early in the season to stop the run.
And that was the hiccup for the whole year. Right? Those couple games they lost early in the season.
But I thought overall, like personally, I thought they actually looked fine.
Oh, for sure we do. They look really good. But same thing's the same with the Leafs right now. The games are easier to win in the beginning of the year, but not the end of the year.
Oh, stop hitting the panic button for a team that always is terrible to start the season. That's a whole other conversation. I don't think Craig Berube's handled everything very well over there so far. And hello, David. By the way, is that ice you're standing on in your profile picture? I hope you don't fall through the ice when you do that. Because that would be very, very cold. As cold as ice.
Well, he's wearing so sweet shirts to keep you that cold.
Dan, you don't know. David's he's a tough man.
Okay.
Now we look at the Argonauts linebackers, and I will say, look, I know Winton McManus did not have a typical Winton McManus season. He wants to stay in Toronto. I don't think you move on from Winton McManus whatsoever.
No, he's got to bring him back.
I think he's a huge part of that leadership group. He's a huge part of that culture. And I know the culture was not perfect this season by any means, but I just don't see how you move on from Winton McManus, who really, I still think is the leader of that team.
Where's Cameron Judge?
He's under contract, my friend.
Oh, wait, okay.
So another one who I would really like to see them keep is Jack Gassar. I actually thought he took some nice strides this year.
Yeah.
I thought Isaac Darkangelo, I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed with him in the last 2 games of the season.
I was expecting a little more of him. Where was he before?
Darkangelo?
Yeah, I forget.
He's been in Toronto pretty much.
Oh, guys, I expect more of him this year for some reason.
Well, I did too, because when he filled in for Winton McManus last year at times, he actually looked pretty decent. And
he's a big dude, too.
The linebacking core was really built to be a strength this year. And Dozier as well, who, funny enough, is not technically a linebacker, even though he played on the linebacking core this season for the Toronto Argonauts. He normally does not play as a linebacker. But Dozier, I thought, was a big part of that as well. So I think Winton McManus is the one that absolutely has to stay, but this is where I'm starting to see guys that I think we could see some drastic changes once it's starting to get from here and the DBs.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because let's be honest, the Argos defense was not good. I think that's fair to say, correct?
Yeah.
No, you saw those weaknesses, especially in that one game in Hamilton where, like, early in the season where they just got lit up like a Christmas tree.
To put in perspective, the Toronto Argos allowed 583 points against. The next closest is Ottawa with 502 points against.
Oh my!
Yeah.
Mind you, they scored 497, which is third highest right now. Now, mind you, Hamilton will probably score more than 7 points this week. That'd be great if they didn't.
Well,
But,
You never know.
but Toronto will probably finish with the third best offense in the CFL.
wow.
Third or fourth. So without their starting quarterback and without a running game, they were still either top 3 or high middle of the pack on offense. That's why I think it's more the defense. And I thought the defensive line was pretty good. So this is where I'm starting to think, I think we'll start to see some real changes is in this linebacking. And maybe not so much the linebacking core, maybe unless some of the rotation guys swap out. Like Ryder Varga, whenever he came in, I didn't really see much I was super excited about. So it's kind of a wait and see situation, but I do think this is where we could start to see some major changes in this group.
Sounds about right.
Now here's and my apologies to Maxine putting Winton McManus in here twice, but here is the defensive back group, and this is where you're starting to, and say with Ryder Vega, because they sometimes flip between DBs, and that was my bad, and I was grabbing the lists, but here we go. From Adam Walsh. They were burnt in the pass game too much, especially against Hamilton. I do agree, Adam, and that's where I look at these DBs. And the only DB that I would really keep, like to me, Dozier, he counts as a DB, even though he more plays in the linebacking core for Toronto. I only see one name there of a guy that I want to keep for the DBs between Benji Franklin, Kenneth Jr., and to me, it's Benji Franklin. I think he's the only DB you realistically have to keep in this group. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, for me, it's Winton McManus you got to keep.
Well, I understand that, but like I said, I by accident threw him in the wrong spot there. So Benji Franklin is a guy that I think you absolutely have to keep on this roster.
For sure.
Oh, I agree. But President.
I think Benji Franklin, I still want to see more of his game. I feel he either gets an interception or he gets burnt. I think it's kind of the way it goes with him, which is a little frustrating for me at times.
Who, McFadden?
No, not McFadden. My gosh, McFadden's still under contract, and he had a phenomenal year this year.
Oh, not McFadden. Yeah,
I'm talking about Benji Franklin because he's the one that's potentially a free agent.
Why? Okay.
Dan, you cheated, according to Adam. Well, Lane, do you agree? Because the DBs is where the passing game is really the big one.
Yeah.
So you also agree with me, Lane, that you think this is where you could see some major changes.
Yeah, defense. Yeah, the DBs, the running backs, the special teams. That really needs to be. I mean, it got
a lot better in the second half, man. If that special teams group played the way they did in the second half all year, I think this is a playoff team. I don't know if they're a Grey Cup winning team, but I think they're a playoff team.
The team was literally that close. They were like one injury away. Whether it was Brown and Williams, or was Arbuckle, or it was Coatsy, or Winton McManus at the end there. This team was literally one injury away from making the playoffs. Would they win once they get there? I don't know. But it's the same as Winnipeg, right? Any good team, if you find them a way to get there, they find a way to get it done. I would consider this team before this year, 2 Grey Cups in 3 years, almost at the same level as Winnipeg. And we kept saying all year, if Winnipeg makes the playoffs, they can find a way to get it done. I felt the same with the Argos. I really did. Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe we got Argo blinders on. I don't know. But I felt like if they found a way to squeeze in the last playoff spot with a 8-9 record, or whatever the case may be, that they might have found a way to win the Grey Cup.
And obviously, once there will be a later time, too, when we know for sure all the pending free agents in the CFO, we will go over where we think some of these players can go. Right now, we just don't. Toronto's list is really the only one that's super public. But back to Adam's point, there have to be major changes at DB. There also needs to be some serious changes in special teams. So here comes the $1 million question. And Lane, I'll only charge you that quarter.
Okay, I lost it. I dropped it.
Janarian Grant, do you bring him back? And this is where I'm really not sure.
I'm saying 1,000% yes. He is one of the best running backs in the CFL. You know, the Argos are always known, thanks to Pinball Clemens, to have franchise running backs as a part of a game plan.
Kick returners, Dan, not running backs.
So like kick returners. You know,
Okay.
he's one of the best kick returners in the CFL. The Argos always known for having one of the best kick returners in the league, franchise caliber. I've loved Grant for years. That's why I bought a Grant jersey as an Argo, because I'm afraid they might cut him. I really wanted a Grant jersey as an Argo. I loved him back in his Winnipeg days. You know, he won both two of those great cups in Winnipeg, you know, against the 99 Ticats, you know. And he did win a Grey Cup in Toronto, you know. So, like, you looked at it, he's won, 3 Grey Cups at least I can think of, possibly more. Like, I agree he didn't have the best year, but I think he didn't have the best year because he didn't have the proper blocking to his credit, right? Like, he always was able to get by 1 or 2 extra guys to get that much more yardage with the offensive start. And you notice that Nick Arbuckle really struggled at the beginning of the year. I think a part of that was because he was playing Chad Kelly's system and not his own. But the other part of that is Nick Arbuckle struggled until Grant was back in the lineup. Because we all forget Grant was injured at the beginning. And once Grant was back in the lineup and you were starting your offense 10 to 15 yards closer every drive, Arbuckle was playing a lot better.
But here's why.
There, you gotta bring Grant back.
I disagree with you, and here's why. Devontae Dedmon is going to be a free agent. And I don't think Ottawa is going to re-sign him.
Yeah, but that's because you got a great player. You don't know if he's going to fit in your dressing room.
Dan, you have to make changes. And I think you got to make some bigger changes than just the odd little tweak. And I look at, you're talking about cutting salary to make room in other areas. Jadarian Grant is the highest paid kick returner in the CFL. Ottawa, for some reason, does not want to use Devontae Dedmon because they're obsessed with this Cale Pimbleton, who I think is a little overrated. So I think Toronto is going to call Devontae Dedmon and say sign a 1-year deal here as a prove-it contract, like what they did with Jadarian Grant when Winnipeg just went, screw you guys, I'm going home, and they didn't want to bring him back. So you bring in Devontae Dedmon for cheaper, and you use that. And again, Jadarian Grant was not the only problem in special teams whatsoever, but when you're looking at the specialists, that's where, like the Adam Gilliman, he was a fullback who also played in special teams. I'd bring him back if he wants to come back. I thought he was a guy with a lot of energy on the sidelines who played hard. But let's be honest, Jadarian Grant's the big conversation here.
For sure.
What are your thoughts on this, Lane? I say if you can bring in Devontae Dedmon for cheaper, you let Jadarian Grant go. Dan is saying Jadarian Grant has won you a cup, has been here for a Grey Cup, and has had a lot of success in Toronto the year past. Not so much this year, but last year was enough for him to bring him back. What's your thoughts on this, Mr. Dashko?
Kind of in the middle, right? Like, hard to pick a side here because I kind of agree with what both of you are saying. Like, you can create the salary to get better in other areas, you know, pull like a Mitch, not a Mitch Marner, but
Mitch Marner.
That idea where it's like, you know, maybe you lose a key player here, but you bring in enough players to improve in these little areas, like a defensive back, like a better special team blocker, like a better running back. Then maybe it's worth cutting Jadarian Grant.
I hate to say it, but you're cutting salary with Chad Kelly, not Jadarian Grant.
Dan, I think you may have to do more than just Chad Kelly to fix this team. I think you might need more than 2 players. I'm not saying the team needs to be blown up, but I think you might need 4 or 5 players added between the offensive line, which is staying the way it is, which there isn't a lot of turnover necessary contract. I think there's going to be some changes. DBs and running game.
Sorry, I cut you off, Lane. I sort of not did that.
It's okay. But also to Dan's point again, but Dan also makes a good point too, because you know he is a special player, right? And yeah, you can get rid of him, but is Devontae Dedmon going to be as good as he's going to get you to that 45-yard line? And another thing that we have to start thinking about is how prevalent are these kick returners going to be, especially with all these rule changes. Like, we're not going to really need them after a field goal in the next 1 or 2 years. So they may not be having as much impact on the game. So if you cut them now and say, you know what, 2 years, this position is going to be almost worth nothing We might as well cut salary now to bring in the guys we need to improve this team.
Yeah, see, I don't like the fact that they took out the rule about running back with the field goal. I think that's one of the most exciting plays.
Again, I don't
still think these rules are not written in
it's
stone.
not like kick returning is going to go away because
they're going to be doing less work though, Jacob. You know what I mean?
I agree with you because we're still maybe a little bit on field goals, but what do we see? Maybe it's not like kickers are. The CFL has actually a much higher accuracy rating than even like the NFL when it comes to kicking.
Right.
So, like, you have to look at it in that sense, and we're still going to see a lot of kick returns and a lot of punt returns. And the field goal kickers, most of them are hitting between 85 and 93% of their kicks. So the kicking game is not going to go away in the Canadian Football League. Yeah, you're going to see less on the field goal return, but look how many punt returns we see for touchdowns or massive plays. Like you're never going to see the specialist go away for kick returns in the Canadian Football League.
If anything, these new rule changes, the field is almost shorter. Well, it is shorter, right? It's 100 yards. So you would think with having a shorter field, you might get more kick returns because they have a 110 less yards. Right? You know, how many times do we see it when the guy gets knocked down within the 10-yard line? You know, so instead, all those plays are going to be touchdowns. But now Grant is worth a lot more money.
Maybe.
You know, I don't know. And like, I agree, Jacob. Yeah, the guy in Ottawa looks good. But like, you don't know. Like, you know, you can bring in a franchise player. I might not agree with your dressing room, right? You know, I think there are a lot of places where you can cut back on this team. I think wide receiver is unfortunately one of them. I think defense.
And we've already saying we'll get rid of DeVaris Daniels and we'll cut Chad Kelly. And Nick Arbuckle's driving another year in his contract. It means it's a lower contract. So you'll probably have right now, sure, we'll say that opens up about $400,000 in salary. I don't know if that's enough to fix the running game, the offensive line, and the DBs.
Well, I gotta say, you haven't brought it up yet, but you have a Cup McMahon.
Dan, he gets paid next to nothing.
He's gotta go.
And actually, I could see McMahon trying to use him to replace Janarian Grant in the kick return.
Well, that'd be pathetic. We saw that; it was terrible.
We saw that in limited reps.
Nah, he's gotta go. And like, you know, we also were talking about we have to get rid of the offensive line. We got to get rid of the defensive line, right? So even if you keep Grant in the dressing room, and even Chad Kelly, you're still cutting a lot of names.
Yeah.
Right?
But you're also keeping a lot of players. It's not like Ottawa, where I think you maybe got the entire team.
Okay, for Ottawa, where's the sound effect, Jacob, with the bomb?
Uh-oh.
Explosion. That's for Ottawa. There you go. That's Ottawa.
But look, at the end of the day, I'm very curious to see where they go in some of these positions.
Yeah. And you know what? I think a lot of it has to come down to, after these playoffs, who's retired and who doesn't re-sign with very respectful teams. Maybe Ottawa, for whatever reason, brings the guy back you're talking about, right? So until we see all the answers, until clearly
you don't have the answers, Sway.
Who is all available, we don't really know what's going to be done yet.
I mean, well, obviously not, but we're playing the game as if we do, Dan. That's how we roll here at the Analyst Desk. But I'm very curious to really see where a team like Toronto goes from here.
Me too.
So Lane, so you say you're leaning between Dan and Janarian Grant. I know we've talked a lot about Janarian Grant, but I think this is an interesting conversation. What makes you lean towards keeping him?
Just what like Dan said, just because he's special, because he is special, right? And if that's a position that is so key, and you might lose him, you might not get back what you lose. And if that's a really key position, and you feel like you can get that extra 20 yards or that extra 10 yards on those kick returns, that shortens the field for Arbuckle or for Kelly, makes those first downs easier, gets those touchdowns, gives you an opportunity to get the ball down the field an extra 10 or 15 yards, then I would do it because you don't know that necessarily the next guy might not be able to do that.
Well, 100%. And don't
So,
forget,
okay, but do you not get what I'm saying though about Devontae Dedmon? This guy's won Special Team Player of the Year 2 years ago. We saw what he did last week in the kick return game. He couldn't be. He was getting to pass midfield on every single kick return with an Ottawa team, by the way, that doesn't know how to block either. And this is a guy that's going to be so hungry. Like, I think that's. I don't know. I think Janarian Grant. And by the way, when I say this, I love Janarian Grant. I think he's a phenomenal player.
Yeah, it's like I said, I'm in the middle. I don't know where. It's hard. It's hard, right?
you
I
know,
just
don't,
find it interesting. You guys are like that, but you guys both think you could move on from Chad Kelly, who won the MOP. He's won
Because you have Nick Arbuckle.
But if you
exactly.
can get Devontae Dedmon, isn't that the same argument? Or is it
No.
because you haven't seen Devontae Dedmon do it in Toronto?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's say Edmonton cuts Javon Leake. Let's say they can't re-sign him. So I believe his contract's coming to an end.
Mhm.
Would you be willing to, a guy who you've seen in Toronto, win Special Team Player of the Year, break Pinball's return records? Would you feel differently about bringing him in instead of Janarian Grant?
No.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that.
Dan, you just want to see Janarian Grant without a shirt on. Is that the reason?
I just really like him. He's a really good guy. And one key thing you're all missing
Yeah,
here.
Never said he was a bad guy.
One thing you're all missing here
He's
is
a
Pinball.
bad guy. Duh.
Pinball, the man making the final decision, was a kick returner. So he understands how important this position is. I think one reason why this team suffered as much as it did at the beginning was because of Dimwitty's quote, is we got a lot of pretenders in this dressing room. And when you have a dressing room that has pretenders, you got to keep the good guys like Arbuckle, like Grant, like McManus, like Coetzee, like Herschel, that are not pretenders to lead this team.
Sure.
I
just don't know. I just don't think Devontae Dedmon's a pretender either.
I'm not saying he is, but I'm just saying we know with Grant, the guys, I could see Grant being the type taking a little less money to stay here too. Dedmon's not going to take less money anywhere. Wherever Dedmon's going, he's going to be signing a probably.
It's tough, Dan. Every team has really good kick returners.
Yeah, but Dedmon's not just a good kick returner; he's a franchise kick.
Okay, but Trey Vavel's probably going to win Rookie of the Year in Winnipeg, so he's not going to go there. Saskatchewan's got Super Mario when he's healthy. He's arguably the best kick returner in the CFL.
Yeah.
You have Edmonton if they keep him. They got Javon Leake.
Yeah.
Montreal. Okay, Montreal's a team with not really a real guy. Hamilton, I forget his name, but before he got injured, Isaiah Woods, he was killing it.
Mhm.
Like Edmonton again, Ottawa, they have Pimbleton. Toronto, depending on what they do, they keep Janarian Grant.
Calgary.
Okay, yeah, Calgary, sure. There's one that Jalen Philpott's been doing it, but you don't love that you're using one of your top receivers to return kicks.
BC.
Who's kicking? I guess BC too. Their kick return has just been it's been okay, but nothing spectacular.
Right. So, I can see Grant taking a little less money to stay in the Argos. If you can get Grant, I think he resigned this year for what, 125? You can get him around that 125 mark again. Because Dedmon's going to be what, 200, 300K?
Nowhere near. I honestly think Dedmon, you might be able to get him for under 100 because he's had 2 back-to-back somewhat injured seasons.
Possibly, yeah.
Or maybe it's one of those things that you bring them both in and you kind of see who wins the job in camp. Like I think we may see some of that in Toronto because I don't think they're going to.
Well, I think that was one of the problems this year. We saw that with the running back, and we saw that with the quarterback with Cameron Dukes. We saw it with the running back between Brown and McCann, and both Browns and Williams and Carey. And I think that was a mistake, having everyone competing in training camp.
So we're getting a Grey Cup prediction. We're getting a playoff prediction here with Montreal to host Winnipeg. So he's thinking Montreal was going to get the semifinal, not the final. Calgary to host BC. Wow, you think Calgary's going to jump over BC this week? We will have game previews as well for you, and I'll be breaking down the games a bit closer in the headlines that comes out tomorrow at noon. But those are some predictions.
I like it.
That I could definitely see. Great friend of the program here. So
I like it.
We could very well see those.
I like it.
Sure.
Anything is possible. Oh, as Dan likes to yell, but yet he didn't yell it. Dan, yell it.
Oh, anything's possible.
My poor ears.
Well, I knew I was told.
But so I will say, but after we've kind of gone through all those areas, the running backs are under contract, right? Do we think the running backs were the problem, or do we think the offensive line was the problem?
The running backs were the problem at the beginning of the year, but I know we only saw him in limited numbers, but I felt really good about Spencer Brown at the end of the year. And I would really like to see Williams have a second chance. I really liked him in the midseason.
Look, I think it just depends who's available. If a guy like I don't know if William Stanback. I think he only signed a 1-year deal in Ottawa. I'm just looking that up at the moment.
His Stanback would be pretty cool.
But like, if you can get a guy like William Stanback signed with the Red Blacks, so I'm seeing it was a deal worth $110,000 to put in perspective for Stanback.
Wow.
Yeah, it looks like the contract was only a 1-year deal. So maybe you can get William Stanback depending if Ottawa doesn't bring him back. Because I think Ottawa. I don't think Stanback really fit their system.
Yeah, Stanback would be a cool piece in Toronto for sure.
So it's very interesting, right? But like, I think the offensive line and the DBs are your two biggest issues.
Well, defensive line too.
What was wrong with the defensive line, Dan? I honestly thought the defensive line played pretty well.
Yeah, we didn't get a lot of sacks. Okay, so I would say the offensive line and the special teams, minus Grant, was the issues because Grant was.
So you want to? What about Liam Halawahu?
Oh, not him, obviously. He had a good season. He had a great season with our punter, Hendricks. No.
Haggerty.
Haggerty. Didn't say this again. Same with Haggerty. He had a great season too.
Absolutely. I thought Haggerty had a really awesome season.
So I would keep those three out of the special teams.
Okay.
Everyone else I'm okay leaving.
For sure.
Wow.
Whoa.
Well, changes have to be made, right?
Yeah, but I don't get it though, Dan. You want to keep players that also didn't have great years. You're going on and on about McMahon. Janarian Grant had one of his worst years in years.
Yeah, because he had no support.
I don't
that's
care.
Like saying Cujo was a horrible goalie because he had no defense.
Yeah, well, Cujo constantly got blamed because the goalies get blamed because they're the one that got
right.
Big game for the Cats tomorrow, even bigger for the Jays. Go Cats and go Jays from the brothers Zach. And yeah, you know what? That is a huge game for the
Totally agree.
Because if they if Hamilton wins, they win the East. If they lose, they need Montreal to lose because they hold the tiebreaker. The East is in their hands, and luckily they just got to get through Ottawa to get there.
I'm curious of how little people are going to be at that Cat game because of the Blue Jays.
I think there'll still be a good turnout because honestly, there's a lot of people who, number one, the Jays tickets are too damn expensive. $900 for general admission. Like the CFL are two completely different.
The prices are going to go up from there.
That's what I'm saying. I can go to probably go to the Ticats game tomorrow for around $30.
Yeah,
Blaine,
sure.
what would you rather spend, 30 or 900?
Oh, 30.
That's kind of my point, right? Can you afford 900 to go to a Jays game?
No.
Dan, can you?
If I could, I would.
But I don't know if you guys have heard. You know what they are doing that's pretty cool? I don't know if I can get tickets for this, but I'm thinking about going to it. Games 3 and 4, they're selling tickets for $15 and free popcorn to go watch it at the Rogers Center.
Oh, let's do it, Lane. We should do it together.
I might go with Jordan and her family, but yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll do it by myself. Oh,
There you go, Dan.
by myself.
Dan, games almost sold out for the Ticats. They also announced they have the Jays game on every TV, and the Jays games are playing at the end zone on the big screen. Yeah, I honestly don't think it's gonna. I'm just gonna say this straight up. I don't really see the Jays World Series affecting CFO attendance this weekend. I could see it affecting the Leafs,
Right.
which is why they pushed it to 5:00.
Yeah.
Ticats will be close to a sellout. Winnipeg's already a sellout.
Yep.
And I got to give a shout out to Zach here. He's one of my best friends. He was the one who tipped me off about the NBA gambling thing today. He was.
Thank you, Mr. Zach.
One of my best friends there. So he's actually
very cool.
Got to give it a shout out to the brother Zach for giving me all those updates about the NBA gambling thing today, because I wouldn't known about it. He didn't message me.
Well, thank you very much, Zach. We always appreciate your comments as well, even though you're a Ticat fan and I'm clearly an Argo fan.
He's a season ticket holder.
Oh, very nice.
Nice.
I always say too, you know what? There's no reason why the fans can't get along either, right? We're all just there to watch some great football. And thanks for tuning into this Argo. I mean, you must love seeing this about the Toronto Argos Ticats fans going from.
I got my popcorn for it, Zach. I got my popcorn. Woo! We're loving it over here, like it's 1999.
But it was definitely overall a disappointing season for the Argonauts. But I'm more on the side of Lane than Dan, where I feel this team it needs some changes.
Well,
I wouldn't. Dan, you called the season a disaster.
Hold up.
I call this season to be expected. It's
You're forgetting one of the most
Winnipeg next year will be god awful. Winnipeg will be what Toronto was next year this year.
You're forgetting one of the most important things we talk about on the field, but you know where you can make all the big changes is off the field. Are you bringing back pinball? Are you bringing back Ryan Dinwiddie? Ozark, we did not talk about those, but they're really important too.
So, what do you boys think?
I say bring them back.
Bring them back.
Let's start with pinball. You know, he is the GM at the end of the day is the one that builds the roster. The roster was not good enough. But we both like Dan, you feel pinball's job is safe.
Oh, 100%.
I think so. I think you're going to fire for Doctor because the Doctor screwed up the Chad Kelly situation pretty good.
Pinball Nelson.
Pinball Clemens. But I'd bring pinball back, but I'd make it very, very clear that this is not acceptable and it has to be a one and done situation.
You were bringing back too, right, Lane?
Oh, pinball? Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You have to. He's the face of the CFL. One of the best faces in Toronto. Okay.
So here's the next question then.
Ryan Dinwiddie.
Lane, you were harder on Ryan Dinwiddie than both Dan and I were this year.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty bad what he did at the beginning of the year.
So do you think Ryan Dinwiddie should be coaching this team next season?
I mean, yeah. I was going to say yeah, but I don't know. Like, you could definitely argue not. Like, he definitely could have set a bad precedent for this team first few weeks, and he should have realized, like, what point do you switch over? Like, I mean, again, he was the one calling out his coordinator for making the wrong call. But yeah, he ran the wrong playbook for 6 weeks. So
yeah,
hard to say. I can honestly say no.
Interesting. See, I really like Ryan Dinwiddie. I really do. I think he's a phenomenal coach. But I kind of agree with Lane here. I think Jacob's right. Big changes have to be made.
No,
I agree
with you. I think big changes need to be made. I don't think Ryan Dinwiddie's the one you change. This guy has made so many remarkable seasons with you. Right? Like, he has been a huge piece of this team. Ever since he came here, all they do is win. And I get this year was one bad season.
No matter what, money on my mind, and we'll never spend it up.
I just don't see I feel this year was more. If they don't make the playoffs again next year, absolutely. But I would not pull the plug on either one right now.
So you want to make big
Dinwiddie,
changes. You're going to keep all your people off the field, and you're going to bring your veteran Grey Cup
putting words in my mouth
returner that was injured for half the year. That makes no sense.
Janarian Grant was not injured for half the year. He's injured for a couple games. I get what you're saying, Alex. Coach is always the first move. I just don't think it's the right decision necessarily. Look, I'm gonna throw this out here, and you guys are gonna hate it. All of a sudden, we're seeing maybe Sheldon Keefe wasn't the problem in Toronto. You kept all the players. You moved on from the coach, Craig Berube. And I know we're talking Argos, but look, you guys were all mad when Ryan Dinwiddie was calling out his players. Craig Berube just sees gas and decides to sees a fire and decides to just put a bunch of gas and a match on it like there's no tax on fuel.
See the new lines he put together?
Absolutely, and we will talk about those maybe we even talk about them later on tonight. Who knows? Maybe we'll come back on again tonight and do that or tomorrow morning. But look, at the end of the day, I just don't think the coach is the issue. And Pinball basically said Ryan Dinwiddie's job is safe.
The problem
he talked about moving forward.
Yeah, but we've heard GMs lie before. The problem
I don't see Ryan Dinwiddie being gone, but Alex, leadership. I get what you're saying.
The problem with the Maple Leafs is leadership and Captain Underpants. That's the problem with the Maple Leafs, not coaching. We all know that.
Just proved my point that getting rid of Sheldon Keefe did absolutely nothing.
Sheldon Keefe was terrible.
But you just told me it's not coaching.
Not at the moment, but in years past it was.
No, it wasn't. It's been the intensity.
You would have kept Sheldon Keefe too?
It wasn't his fault.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't. Dan! Come on. Come on.
You literally got the same result last year. And back to the comments here. Thank you, good friend of the program, Adam, for bringing in some sense. Firing Ryan Dinwiddie after one unlucky team is an overreaction to a common Toronto. Firing the special teams coordinator should be one, if not the first thing.
I agree with that.
I agree. And yes, Adam, I know you meant season, not team. It's okay. I forgive you. Don't cry, please. Dan,
I agree. Special team coordinator.
Yeah, the special team coordinator. Absolutely. Actually, another point. I don't like this 2 defensive coordinator situation Toronto has. Pick one to lead the defense.
So which one are you firing?
Dinwiddie is idiotic. It does not make any sense.
So which defensive coordinator are you firing?
I'm not firing either one. I'm picking one to be the defensive coordinator.
Okay, which one are you picking to be the one?
I don't know off the top of my head because I would have to really, really look into some more things.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, okay, as much as I said that, I take my comment back. I agree with Adam. Fire the special coordinator, give the coach the second try. I just think you got to do some changes off the field too.
Yeah, I think the special teams coordinator.
Yeah, I still think you're firing for Doctor. Well, seriously, the doctor really misdiagnosed Chad Kelly's situation.
Well, I mean, we
don't know that.
We don't know for sure. We don't know who is the one that's been holding everything up. Like, not to be a jerk, but we just don't know right now. And it'll be very telling to see if Chad Kelly is ready for training camp next season to play.
Yeah.
That's the $1 million question, right?
Mm-hmm.
The question that realistically we're not going to have the answer to anytime soon.
Right.
But I do want to look at something here, though. And when I know we keep bringing up Chad Kelly again. So I think let's kind of look at some numbers here. So this is Chad Kelly's MOP season, right?
Pretty good.
So, sorry, I forgot to put the yardage. I forgot to put in there, but I'm building graphics on the fly, people. Okay, but he finished that season with 4,123 yards.
Crazy.
Very good. This was his MOP season.
Yeah, of course.
Just to kind of put into perspective. But so that was impressive, right? So, but do you guys think this could happen again? Do you think Chad Kelly can get back to these numbers?
No.
Yes.
I don't
So
know.
who wants to go first? I want explanations.
Well, I think the only reason why he didn't have those numbers in 2024 was because of the off-field drama with the suspension. So I think if you have him with no drama and fully healthy, I think he'll go back to where he was.
That's the key word I'm picking up on right there. Healthy. Is he healthy? How bad is this injury? You keep saying the doctor misdiagnosed. How do we know he's not healthy right now and he just can't play? I'm going to give you an example of someone you just talked about, Captain Underpants. Okay, so
Yeah.
2 years ago, no, but here I'm making my point here.
Yep.
2 years ago, Austin Matthews scored almost 60 goals in 69 goals. Sorry,
Great number.
69 goals in the NHL. He gets hurt. Okay, has a terrible year. Can we give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt? But where's that 69 goal scorer? He's gone. He's disappeared. We have to call that. We have to put his picture on milk cartons and say, where is he? Because he's not the same Austin Matthews that I saw 2 years ago. If anything, he's a shell of himself, and he's not even a top 10 center in the NHL right now. And I'm going to say the same thing about Chad Kelly. You don't know how bad these injuries are, and if they've been saying this whole time he's been clear, he should be playing. He posted on Instagram, I should be playing, but he's not playing. And I hate to say it, but we don't know if that injury is going to be healed, if he's going to be back to the same way he was before. And sometimes depending on the injury, you don't get back to it.
Right, and I hate to say this too, but I wonder if Chad Kelly was more of a mental game with being a father now and having a new wife and all that. That has anything to do with it.
Now you just sound like you're about to sing the theme song of Life of Derek. You guys remember that family show from back in the day. But now I want you to look at another stat line.
Yeah.
So here's Nick Arbuckle, right? So in less games, more yardage, better completion percentage, more interceptions. I will add that.
But also,
mind you, most of these interceptions in the second half, he only threw 6 interceptions in the second half of the season. So just to kind of put that into perspective, okay?
Yeah.
This guy is about $400,000 cheaper for next year.
I don't know how you don't roll.
Do we know that though? He's going to get more money.
He's
under contract. That's right. He's under contract. Yeah.
Even if they renegotiate his deal to try to extend him, that would be further than next year. So you have Nick Arbuckle at a very team-friendly contract right now.
Yeah.
And these numbers, I'm just going to say it. Chad Kelly, less touchdowns, less interceptions, sure, higher efficiency rating, but a lower completion rating. Nick Arbuckle, more yards, more touchdowns.
In less games.
It's just an interesting conversation, right?
Yeah. That's why I hate to say it, but I think the big change is Chad Kelly.
But Adam here, first question asks Chad Kelly healthy, and question 2, does Chad Kelly really make you better? That's what I'm saying. I don't know if Chad Kelly really, I'm hitting my mic, I'm so aggravated. I don't know if Chad Kelly makes this team any better than Nick Arbuckle.
I agree. I'm a huge Chad Kelly fan, but I think you're at the point now, 5-12 season, you got to have Chad Kelly walk. You need that. It's almost $675. So it's almost $700,000 in cap space. And in a CFL salary cap where the cap is under $3 million, $700,000 is a huge amount of money. You can easily get rid of Chad Kelly and bring in 3 really good players to boost this roster better. So I love Chad Kelly.
The only contract that's comparable to Chad Kelly that's more is Nathan Rourke. And I am not the biggest Nathan Rourke fan.
No.
I am going to make that clear before Dan starts flipping out at me. But Nathan Rourke is having a better season than Chad Kelly's best season. He is right now. Nathan Rourke's got 4,922 yards, 28 touchdowns, 15 interceptions in 17 games right now.
Right.
Like, what Nathan Rourke is doing is insane. And Nathan Rourke did renegotiate his contract to only be $25,000 more this season than Chad Kelly.
Really? Why do you do that?
It means he'll be paid more next year. But it's because BC felt they have a chance to win. That's what players do. You can renegotiate contracts in football.
Right.
My big concern is you stick with Kelly and you just don't have money to fix the other issues. If you want to fix the issues and keep the majority of your roster together and add, it's like what the Leafs did. They got rid of Marner. They let Marner go, and they brought in Nicholas Waugh, Dakota Joshua, Marcelli, Travis Boyd, which I know he's in the
Boys
minors.
AHL.
Parzelli, which I know he's in the minors, but
AHL.
I would like to see him be called up at some point.
Me
and
too.
You still have cap space to bring in another top 6 forward before the deadline's done.
But
That's what Toronto can. That's what the Argos can do with the Nick Arbuckle to Chad Kelly situation.
And the key is like you said, when showing the stats, even if you go with Nick Arbuckle, you're not downgrading quarterback.
And that's
I wouldn't downgrade quarterback to save money, but I would save money to get someone arguably better and someone just as good as Chad Kelly.
Because even Chad Kelly last year, and this is him healthy, okay? And yes, I know there was distractions off the field, but let's just not think about those at the moment too much. Yeah. In 9 games, 24 51 yards, 10 touchdowns to 8 interceptions, efficiency rating of 98.2. And it's just tough for me because I get Chad's been your guy. The only thing you maybe do is you maybe roll with 2 quarterbacks next year and say win the job. But tell Chad Kelly,
but can you afford that with the salary cap? Right? We basically ward, even though we didn't ward 2 quarterbacks in the books, in the cap ward, we had 2 quarterbacks with the salary caps. Almost $1 million out of $3 million salary cap in quarterbacks, and you got a 5-12 season.
Can I also just state too the improvement we saw from Nick Arbuckle from last year to this year? Nick Arbuckle started, I believe, 5 games, played in, got field time in, I think, 6. And he only threw up 799 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions with an efficiency rating of 90.4. He went from that to potentially winning the MOP.
Yes,
you really got to think about that.
Well, that's why all through the year I kept saying I got to bring Chad Kelly back. But now the year is done. We've seen the 5-12 record. We've seen what Nick Arbuckle can do. We've seen what Chad Kelly has done. I love you, Chad, but your time's up.
It just makes me nervous because I'm afraid Chad Kelly will be like the MBT situation, who had a really good year before. Even in Edmonton, if you take away his win-loss record, 3,748 yards, 24 touchdowns to 11 picks, he was incredible last year, but got injured. Trey Ford took over. And now MBT came back this year, and he looked terrible. You just don't know a player's coming back from injury. So I don't know. I think the only way you run both quarterbacks is if you cut back on the receiving core drastically. And maybe
I'm not seeing that.
Hold on. Maybe you move on from Unger, Daniels, and Brissett to clear cap space, bring up some guys from the practice roster, hope Herslow, Coxie, and Mattal can carry the load and pick a quarterback. I could see them going that route.
No.
I could see them doing it though, because I think especially, and I'm just going to call this out. I even put myself on full screen, so I will get the heat for it. I could see the Toronto Argonauts keeping Chad Kelly just because of the Buffalo Bills partnership.
Ooh,
I hope that's not the case, but Jim Kelly's in all the marketing. Chad Kelly's nephew, not like a Snoop Dogg nephew. But could you guys see that happening?
Yeah, I could.
Which, by the way, the only thing is, though, this Bills partnership has not gone over very well with anyone, realistically. No one seems very happy with it.
Which is surprising. I thought it was a good idea.
Yep, but at the end of the day, I think that's kind of where we're at with the Toronto Argos. I think we can fairly say a disappointing season, but I don't think any of us expect them to not make the... Actually, around the room before we go. Will the Toronto Argonauts make the playoffs next year?
Yes.
Well, I already predicted. It depends what we do in the offseason.
I don't care. I'm going to say yes because I have trust in this team to make the right decisions.
Okay.
Lane, you said yes. What are your thoughts, Dan? Like, looking at what they have and what you think moves that they can make to improve, do you see this team improving enough to at least get to the playoffs next year?
I do, because the reason why they missed it is because of the struggles in the beginning with not knowing the quarterback and with the injuries at the end. If you look at the beginning of the season when they were healthy and knew the game plan, they were actually a very competitive team. So if you have that right from the beginning to the end, yeah, I think it's going to be a playoff team. I don't know if they're going to dominate like 16-2, but I can see them going like 10-8.
Yeah, because I mean, remember the year they went 16-2, they got blown out in the East Final, right? Sometimes like Toronto when they won the Grey Cup were 10-8 last year. And
Right.
when they won the Grey Cup in 22, they were 11-7. Just to kind of put it into perspective.
Yeah, so I think 10-8.
So I think and if they don't, then Ryan Dimwitty and Pinball, that might be their last season with the Argos in that capacity. But thank you. I want to thank everyone for watching, everyone for liking and commenting. Thank you very much to Alex as well, who sent in a good old Lyco during this video. Remember, this will be up on Spotify and iHeartRadio probably by tomorrow mornings. It's a great conversation. As we talked about, we're going to be putting up some of our specials on that platform. But thank you very much for watching. I'm the self-proclaimed sports analyst, joined by Lane Dashing Dashco and Mr. More for Your Money.
I hope you enjoyed the stale popcorn. Woo!
What do you mean? This is great popcorn.
Oh, it's not stale. I think it's 1999 popcorn.
No, actually, before we go though, anyone's ever had this popcorn is amazing.
No.
This is the best, 100%.
Okay, cool. Good to know.
Hold it up, Lane, again.
This is actually, if anyone's ever wanting a snack that you don't feel guilt-free from, it's actually like organic popcorn. They don't make it. They don't put any butter on it, any cheese on it. It's all made with like avocado oil and like it's all vegetarian. This popcorn is amazing. This popcorn is actually almost better than movie theater popcorn.
We're not sponsored by this popcorn that
This
Lane's
popcorn's amazing.
could be. Thank you very much for watching the Analyst Desk, where every day feels like game day. I'll be back tomorrow with the headlines. Dan and Lane, I'm putting you on the spot. Are you guys doing a World Series Game 1 MLB The Show?
I think so.
We are, yeah.
I'm excited to see that. And Dan and Lane with that tomorrow. I'll be up with the headlines. I'll also try to record a quick preview for everything going on Friday. I have to work, so I won't be able to do anything live, but I will try to pre-record a quick little thing of everything going on, but at least you'll get the headlines, which always gets you up to date for the weekend.
And make sure to watch our NBA gambling special that was on this afternoon.
Absolutely. Dan and Lane did a phenomenal job covering that breaking story and craziness. And like I said at the top of the show, I think we're just starting to see what's happening there. I think we're going to get a lot more on that very soon. But thank you very much for watching the Analyst Desk, joined by Lane and Mr. More for Your Money. We will have season recap shows for all CFL teams.
Ottawa and Edmonton next.
Ottawa and Edmonton next. And we'll have a playoff preview show joined by some special guests.
And so the World Series, too, coming up.
And World Series, but I mean, I don't know if we'll get to a full preview of that. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the flip side. See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
Insert hip-hop extra.